So as you look at the panel here today, have been a lot of interactions with women. All of us men have been in relationships, whether long term or short term. Some of us have been married, and some of us want to be married. Regardless of where you fall on the spectrum, we have at least had the thought about divorce. If a man wants to be married one day, I think it is a good conversation to have because men stand to lose more than women if there is a divorce. If there are if there are children involved, the father stands a chance of losing the ability to adequate, adequately, adequately raise his children. There you go. I knew I was going to eventually get it out. Some studies have concluded that women file over 70% of all divorces and get custody of the children almost 90% of the time. As men, we need to have this dialogue in order to help men before they decide to do this. We also need to learn from the people who are divorced, the good and the bad. So, the first question we're going to start off with today is, what is our role as a husband? Whoever wants to start tackling it, go ahead.
Go ahead, Antoine.
I shouldn't go first. I ain't a husband. I never
Antoine,
been
like I ain't a husband.
Well, turn your mic off.
one. I didn't say nothing.
No, you will.
Okay.
Yeah. You got a problem. See, you can't hear that you got a problem until you turn it off. Now all you do is shake your head. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I would say, like, your role as a husband is like to provide opportunities. You know what I'm saying? The word provide has to be part of the ingredients. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. I would say some things universally have to be the definition. I think simplest definition, because everybody gets married for different reasons. I would say as a man, it has to be to provide.
You know,
Go
so
ahead,
Antoine
coach.
muted his mic. You know? No, I definitely agree with Vic, right? And what I would say is that historically speaking, I think that has been part of our DNA, especially as men, to provide. That's one of the things that we probably seen our fathers, grandfathers, what have you, provide and to protect. I would add that in there. I would also say that within the scope of the understanding of what that role is, I would say it's a lot of vagueness that exists there as well, because over the years, what you will find is that there was like a solid foundation. Like when you look at your grandfather, your father, or so have you, there was a defined solid foundation. Everybody knew who the grandfather was. Everybody knew what he did, and everybody knew when it time for him to watch Perry Mason. I don't care what you're watching. You're gonna turn the TV to Perry Mason. That was my
And
experience,
you telling
right?
our age,
Um,
man.
hey man, I'm just telling you, my grandfather was gonna watch old Ironside come rain,
I know,
rain, sleet,
right?
snow. But what I've seen over the years is those roles been redefined, right? When we were younger, I don't know how it was when you guys were growing up. It was frowned upon for us to cry for every little thing. You stop crying, suck it up, and deal with it. Little boys don't cry, be tough. And then over the years, what you find is that you will gravitate to that male figure, whether it was your grandfather, whether it was your uncle, or whether it was your father. And so over the years, that role has been redefined. And now what I'm seeing is that, yes, the provision and the protection in the male figure still exists, but then there's also the compassion and the emotion side of them that is being pulled out. So you have to be able to provide emotionally, also be able to provide caringly, by providing compassion as well. And then by that same token, you also have to be a quote unquote leader. And I use that word not so skittishly, but just it doesn't say that the wife can't be a leader, but the husband has to be a leader as well, because the husband puts his wife in a position so that she can flourish. Leaders, they give unselfishly of themselves. I think the context of leadership has been, based upon what we talk about, it has been contorted. I think when we start talking about husband and wife, and we use the word leader, if you talk about a man being a leader, you think what we mean is saying ruling with an iron fist. But in all actuality, what we're really talking about is once we get down to that empathetic and compassionate ability to set each person up so that they can be successful. I'm not sure if my internet was going in and out just now.
Yeah, it was a little bit.
Just a
I think
little.
we picked up. I think I was able to get most of it. You wanted to chime in, Antoine?
I think yeah. I mean, a man's role. Listen, I can only speak like what I think a man's role. I mean, a man's role is like what everybody said is provider, taking care of the family. You're the strongest foundation of it. You know, you make the
Can you hear
last
me?
call. It's your. Huh? Yeah, we can hear you. It's your call. Um, I believe you know. Everybody says like you know they're very careful in choosing their words. Like a marriage is not a partnership. I believe part of it is right uh, because of the way that the balance is there because she you know she takes care of the household she does her womanly duties and you do your manly duties and you know a man's role is to protect provide that's it you nourish growth build you know make sure everything runs smoothly at home you know make sure the inside the home doesn't get disrupted you're there as the shield nothing goes into the house but by you that's it.
So would that be the same? Because I've heard people talk about, well, like the woman controls the house, she runs the house, and the man kind of runs outside of the house. Not necessarily in jobs, but just in general, like she runs what goes on inside the house.
I believe so. I believe you know, a woman. Listen, a woman. I can only speak for my mom, right? She kept the house immaculate. When bills were either late or they needed to be paid, she'd remind my dad because he was always working, right? If she needed stuff, food, grocery shopping, it all went through her. You know, women. That's. I mean, I don't want to sound like that old. You know, back in the day, the man brings the bacon home and the woman that maintains the household. But technically, a woman's job is there. And today women have jobs, you know, so it's more of a compromising, more of a making time and what's the word I'm looking for, more of like um not planning. I want to use the word, I want to choose my words wisely.
Partnership.
It's not a partnership per se, but it's a partnership as far as what her role is and what your role is, and then you bring it together and make it work, right? That's the whole basis of a marriage. Like for me, like I said, I've made it always clear I would only get married for kids. There would be no reason for me to get married. None. Like what would it be? A partnership, I can have that outside of marriage. Like there'd be no benefit. Nothing. If like it would have we would have that understanding. She's there for her role and I'm there for mine. There would be, and I believe that, you know.
Is it too soon to, because before the conversation like goes, what I'm saying, down a different rabbit hole or whatever? I think we have to define what we have to come up with definitions. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people got different definitions about what their role is. Just like I said, partnership to me, what Antoine was describing just then just sounds like partnership to me. You know what I'm saying? But for Antoine, that doesn't mean the same thing. So like, I think definitions matter when it comes down to the role of a person as a husband. Because like, what's what I'm saying? Like, what's the definition of that? You know
So
what
I
I'm saying?
think, so just as I'm thinking about it, I feel like roles are each individual's job in the partnership. So I got my role on the show, you got your role. Everybody on here has their
Yeah,
role, but we
that's
as
the
together
partnership part.
come
That's the
together and
partnership part.
have a complete partnership.
Yeah, as in the roles. Yes.
Which is why I said marriage, ultimately anything between more than one person has to be at the bare minimum a partnership.
Hmm.
It can be limited, it can be long term, and the definition of that partnership is what's most important.
The definition of that partnership to me means you know your roles and you play them, and that those two things come together as a partner. That's it.
I think when people talk about partnership sometime and where it may get kind of thrown off in a different direction is when people look at partnership as almost equality, or as that both people may have equal say in the outcome of a certain thing. And I think that's what sometimes people don't like. Well, I'm not in no partnership with my woman. I'm the
I agree.
lead and she's the follower. So I think that's sometimes what they talk about is that we're a partner because we got equal say in the relationship.
Somebody has to make the final decision.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I,
that's
I
the man's
mean,
role.
I think partnership is just the will to work together. It doesn't matter, you know what I'm saying, who makes the final decision. because
Well,
the final
it comes down
decision,
to, though.
because the final decision still includes the input from the person, whether you choose to accept it or not.
Somebody has to say if it's black or white. Somebody has to pick.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, in partnership, even if you make a choice that isn't what your partner wanted to do, it still comes down to I still consulted somebody else before I made a decision.
Yeah.
It's still a partnership.
Yeah.
As long as you got more than one person to make one decision, it's a partnership.
Yeah.
Because why would you bring a bunch of people to you to tell your idea, to listen to them, to do your own thing?
And there's also a sense of doing that with a woman, I think, is a sense of respect, right? Because for myself, I put every woman on a pedestal until she turns that pedestal into entitlement. When she turns that pedestal into entitlement, that's when you take her down and school her, and then you put her back up there, because you're not entitled to be up there, right? You're not entitled to be up there. When she turns that into entitlement, like, because I'm up here, I deserve this. No. You're up there because of the respect that I have for women, and the respect that you're a woman. So I have to have that little utmost respect. Not every woman, I'm saying. Like, I'm not talking about the hoe on the corner. I'm talking about the woman you're with, right? You put her on a certain pedestal.
But if you put her on a pedestal, isn't she gonna act accordingly?
No, but that's when you
Like,
take her down. No.
But if you placed her up there, you can't place her on a pedestal and then get mad when she act like she on the pedestal.
What do you mean? What do you think I mean when I say pedestal?
That goes in the definition. Exactly.
Okay.
What's the definition?
I'm looking at it like you like idolatry, like you idolize her, like worshiping her.
Pedestal is this. A woman is more fragile, so you take care of her, you nurture her, you make sure she has all her needs. You open the door for her. She ain't opening the door for you, right? You walk on the outside of the road. She just walks on the inside.
But I do all of that stuff for my dog.
That's when I say pedestal. These are the things that I'm saying she comes first in those areas, right? That's how I look at it. But sometimes they use that as an entitlement. They think if it's an entitlement because they're a woman, right? They think because they're a woman. They think it's an entitled. I'm entitled to that. Not really. I'm doing that because you're a woman, but you're not entitled to it. Because I can be a real ass and say no, it doesn't work that way, right? Because yes, you pay the bills. Yes, you maintain the household. Yes, you make sure everything's well put together. But she's not entitled to that. And when she turns it like, that's your job. I'm entitled for you to have this, or for me to have this, or for me to be,
But she should have certain expectations.
Yeah, she can have expectations depending on who she chooses. If she chooses Pookie and Ray Ray, you're gonna get.
If she's a feminine woman, isn't she going to expect that you open the door for her?
Yeah, we ain't talking about.
That's not entitlement, is it?
I would like to say yes, but in my experience, chivalry is dead. Right?
I don't think so. Like, my girl won't even get in the car if I don't open the door. But I set that standard, and I let her know that.
Right.
That's just me. I let her know, like, that if I don't open the door, then you need to just stand there. That's just me. That's just because that's who I am.
That's how it was back then. It really was like that. Like, my father was like that, right? Because that's how it was back then. That's how it was groomed back. That's how women were groomed back then. That's how they had that utmost respect back then. The words dusty and all that shit never existed. They had the utmost respect for the man. His word was law back then. But things have changed now. Women vote. Women make just as much money as men. Women don't need you. This is now elevated, right? So it's not the same mentality. It is chivalry. You open a door for a woman today. And it's like, well, oh, wow, that's really nice. They even make a comment about it, and it's like, what did you expect me to do?
You need to get out of California before you make
generalize shit. It's not about getting out in California. I've asked a lot of women this, and they go, yeah, and to one, chivalry is not a thing that we look for anymore in a man. Okay, I mean, that's something I knew, but it was no surprise. You can ask the average person.
Huh? I think there's a certain wives do. I think wives look for certain things like that.
But
if you find a wife, then
right,
like
I think
my
so.
girl, yeah. Go ahead, Coach. I know you got something.
Like I said, I hold femininity, elegance in the highest regard and respect. I'm not even that. No. Yeah. You will be crossing your legs when you sit
I want
down.
to see some pictures of the women that you want.
No, it's a fact. You will be crossing your legs when you sit down. You're a woman. I don't
He
want to
already
see.
deleted all of
I
them.
want to see none of that. You will be crossing your legs. Yeah. You will be reaching with the pinky and picking up with the index. You will be walking on the inside of the road. That's a fact.
But this kind of goes back.
Hmm?
This kind of goes back to what I was saying. Like the roles have been not so much as roles, but the idea of husband, what their responsibility are. Like over the time, they have been, it's kind of morphed into what's considered to be acceptable behavior, given this time and effort. Because I think Antoine just said it. Like back here, men were this, and it was law, right? And that was acceptable behavior back then. That doesn't. We're not saying that it's right or it's wrong. It is what it is. And here it is today. It's a different breed of when we start talking roles. And I think the role, as we per se now, is what is agreed upon between husband and wife. As long as husband and wife has the same mentality, has the same idea, and has the same belief system, then that clearly defines the role of the husband. And if that is within his belief system, then he will actually fulfill that role gladly, and from the standpoint of being what is actually needed for that particular family to thrive. And it kind of goes back to what Vic was saying earlier. It is a partnership. It's a partnership of agreements when it comes down to what our defined role is. Just like, and I know this isn't the topic of the conversation, but just like what the role of the wife is, right? Trust me, I've seen situations to where men were involved with women. To I heard some of our other friends say, "Man, I couldn't be married to nobody like that." Well, that's not your decision. That was not part of your agreement. That was part of his agreement. So when we start talking about these roles are clearly defined based upon the agreement, the partnership, like Vic said, between these two people. And I think that's really what the best answer is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but I grew up. Dinner was at 6 o'clock. You had to be there, and my father would tell you that's the only way I get to know what the hell happened in your day, right? I mean, it was, and if you didn't eat it, if you weren't there at 6, you better have a damn good reason. I mean, you better have done cross your T's and dot your I's and tell him, because he would say, hey, your mother didn't cook all day for you to be downstairs or out there. She cooked all day for a warm meal for all of us to have. Don't disrespect her. Get your ass up there.
Did your dad get the big piece of chicken?
I didn't even know what eating in front of a TV was. I was like, shit, man, people do that?
Did your dad get the big piece of chicken?
Always. He got fed first. At Thanksgiving, he would cut the turkey. Christmas, he would cut the turkey. He's sitting in front of TV eating was a freaking treat, man. My father would have to be sleeping, knocked out cold from a good drink before we did that. Are you kidding me? What was that? I told you, plastic cup was like on the table. Good luck. Good luck. Yeah, we're gonna wash all those dishes. We did it, of course, but that's what I'm saying.
So like when y'all ate dinner, cause we used to eat as a family sometimes. Well, when we was younger, like on Sundays and stuff sometimes.
No, we ate every day after school.
Every day?
Every day after school. Homework was after dinner. Lights out at 9. Wake up and do it again. And the weekends we had playtime. 2 hours at the park. I can remember everything. 2 hours at the park.
What time did your father get home from work every day?
About 4:30. We give him 4:30. His shower would be a half an hour. He'd grab the paper for a half hour. Dinner by 6, and that would be it. And if he pulled that chair out and he didn't see 4 heads at the table, you better have a good reason. Because my mother used to make sure she gathered all of us up at the time. Okay, he's coming up. He's coming up. I can hear him coming up from downstairs.
I only saw that on TV.
That's how it was.
I'm like, so I'm interested. I thought like all the stuff they see on like soul food stuff. I was like, man, that stuff don't happen in real life, but it do. I mean, I know it do. That just wasn't my experience growing up.
My family wasn't unique. A lot of people were like that. My friend would tell me, hey, I gotta go, my dinner soon. It's at 5 or 6. We're eating early today. My dad's this or that, or he's leaving tomorrow or some shit. So,
Vic or Coach, do y'all have a similar or shared experience like that? That's Vic's answer.
Man, look, my mom and dad work opposite shifts. Not necessarily the same job, but like my mom had like more of a 9 to 5, 8 to 4 type of gig, and my dad worked like 10 at night to like 6 in the morning. So like there was no family dinner. So I don't have an experience to compare to what Antoine's talking about. And I know a bunch of people that was like that. It's a bunch of people that don't have the experience that Antoine is talking about, you know. And that's why I always say all things are true. So like I think that ultimately if you got children, you make time because you have to, you know, because that's what I look at when I hear Antoine talking. His parents made time to be those type of to be that available for their own children. But markets are different now, economics are different, and like I
Yeah.
always said before, everything we do really is about economics, man. You know what I'm saying? Like you do what you do because of money. Whether money affords you the opportunity to do this or not, you're gonna go do something to make up for the lack of resource that money provides. You know what I'm saying? So like you got to trade something off, and and hopefully you got enough principles, morals as a human being that if you can't be there every day, that the standard that you set and live by every day forces people to live by your example. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily forces, but at least sets a reference point for somebody if they, you know what I'm saying, like are looking for a different direction for their life.
Yeah, and I'm gonna let Coach go, but just been in the military for 20 years. I know a whole bunch of dudes that, you know, day in, day out, wasn't at home during dinner time. A lot of time when we went home, kids was already in the bed. I was out last night, about 10 o'clock. I seen one of my neighbors just now coming in. He owned his own business, just driving in, 10 o'clock. I was telling my girl, I was like, man, I wonder how much time he get to spend with his kids today. He owned his own business. And he was out there
Yeah.
hustling all day. 10
Yeah,
o'clock, he
man,
just rolling in.
that's tough, bro. Like,
Yeah. But that's the reality. A lot of people figure,
It's normal.
is normal in a lot of places, and if the average, if you look at the average salary for a black man, it's like in the 40 something thousand. You know what I mean? So where does 40 something $1,000 get you?
yeah.
And if that's average, so if just one income, or if you got two incomes, then you got kids, and you know how much daycare costs,
I
man. So
know. I
sometimes,
can believe some of the prices
yeah.
I'm hearing. I'm like, what?
And sometimes I think our roles as a father, they don't necessarily change, but they have to be adjusted sometime for economic reasons sometimes, I
Expectation management.
and that too.
Now I was pretty much similar. Well, not really similar. My mother and my father, they separated when I was 3 years old,
Mhm.
and we left Heidelberg, Germany, and came back to the States. And we kind of fell in that trend. We moved back in with my grandmother, and you know, we didn't necessarily, like I said, that father figure for me during that particular point in time was my grandfather. And we did have family dinners more so on Sundays than any other day. And so when you mentioned the soul food thing, that was us. Like Sundays were like, you know, grandmother, aunts, uncle, mother, nieces, nephews, cousins, everybody all in one location. And so it wasn't an everyday thing, but on Sundays it was an expected thing. And they would literally start cooking, dinner first thing in the morning, early in the morning, because once we got out of church, that was the norm, that was the expectation. And for me, I got to the point I started looking forward to that.
Wow.
Again, my grandfather was that father figure. Again, he was there, but that was it. So my father, not so much.
But that's another reason why I was saying, like, I, I just coming from a family like I did, I know the importance of having a two-parent household. And that's why when I hear that baby mama shit, I'm like, I don't think you comprehend what it's like to have a man there I mean, it was like a symbol, like I can't tell you how strong it was to have his presence there in me growing up as a man, knowing my father was right there for me. Rather, he didn't really help me with my homework, except if it pertained to math, because that's all he was good at. But as far as the just, hey dad, I need this. Hey dad, my bike is broken. Hey dad, you know what I mean? I so to me, when I hear people say, "Oh, I don't need a man to do it," I'm like looking at you like, what? Like, you couldn't raise me as a kid. I was wild and an idiot. You couldn't raise me. A single mother couldn't raise. My mother told me. The only thing that really straightened me up was hearing her say, "Wait until your father gets home." Shit, room cleaned, you know.
You was scared you gonna get a whooping, Antoine?
Yeah, you know, and you go to the islands, you know, how I got whooped would be considered child abuse today. God damn. Ask any islander, they'll tell you. They'll tell you. That's why
Depending on the state.
it's so important to have a man in the household. Even my mother would tell you, even if she was alone home, like when we all got out of the house, to this day she will say, "So happy your father's here." You know, I always say, "Hey, where's Pop?" "Oh, he's downstairs holding the fort down." And I could tell that for her to have a man at this age that she's at, she is so grateful, dude. And that's why I don't understand when people talk about not needing a man. And I'm looking at you like you're an idiot. Just like that's why I believe, like, if I don't get married, I know I'm gonna have a significant other. I know 100% I will marry her, but I will have a significant other.
So what you gonna do with all your money, Antoine? Who's going to?
My nieces and nephews.
Okay.
Yeah, my nieces and nephews.
You gonna give it to the woman?
Who?
Your significant other.
While she's living with me? I'll give her a little chunk to live on, but no.
She ain't get no severance package once you die.
She got a severance package while I was alive. Every night.
So if y'all get a, say for you find her in the next.
No, I would. Of course, I would leave her something.
Yeah.
I would. I'm just messing. I'm just joking. Of course, I would take care of her. She has everything she needs.
Yeah.
You know? But all my art and stuff like that would go to my family. It wouldn't go to her. It would go to my family. My art.
You have your charity by then though. You have the Hall, the Antoine Hall of Fame, the Antoine Center, the Antoine Youth Center.
My goal is to open up a homeless shelter with called ID Joe's. You know, I guess a joke from my parents' name, so it'd be called ID Joe's.
Yeah, I remember you telling us about that.
You know, my little retirement thing. Why wouldn't
if you like it? If you like it, I like it, Antoine.
Yeah, it'd be a homeless thing. Like I think that would be my go-to. I'd play cards. You know, it'd be a place to go during